Hello and welcome to Let's Talk SEO. So, a recent study published on Search Engine Land talks about brands ranking number one on Google appear more often in LLMs than those that are ranking, let's say, 13 or 14 in the search results. But the surprising part is that brands that appear in LLMs or the top in LLMs, so let's say you do a search for the best car to buy, and the first four brands are Toyota, Honda, Volkswagen, and maybe another one, let's say it's Tesla, then those are the brands that are usually going to rank in search engines. So this study says that Google ranking seem to correlate with brand mentions in ChatGPT's AI generated answers, according to a new study published by digital marketing agency Sheer Interactive. So what these guys did is they put together a study that shows that if your brand shows up more often and higher up in LLMs, chances are, or the odds are, that your brand and your website shows up more often and higher up in Google search. And even though there is a bit of truth to this, the fact is a little more nuanced and it's not as simple as they make it out to be. But they admit that this is still something that does not prove that if you rank high, let's say in LLMs for your brand, that you'll necessarily rank high with Google search. So what they've said here is that brands ranking on page 1 of Google showed a strong correlation, 0.65, with LLM mentions. Bing rankings also mattered, but less so less than 0.5 to 0.6. What they said was we expected backlinks to play a big role, but their impact was weak or even neutral. Multimodal content didn't move the needle as much as we thought it would. 10,000 questions in finance and SaaS-related industries were run through OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0 to determine which triggered brand mentions. As always, a reminder that correlation is not causation. So this is the key thing to keep in mind. While this is the more of the TLDR of the research, let me give you my 2 cents of this. Number one is you're never going to show up in LLMs if you're not at least in the top 10 in Google search. So regardless of whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Gemini AI, whether it's some other program, Perplexity perhaps, if your brand or your brand mention does not pull up your website in the top 10, then you're not going to show up in LLMs. But, and there is a but here, in addition to brand, you must also show up for the key or the broadest keyword that identifies your industry. So let's say your brand is hot wash, okay? And the primary keyword that encompasses your entire brand and your industry is car wash, okay? Or car wash in Illinois. Now, if you don't show up on the first page for car wash Illinois, then that brand association with that primary keyword has not been made. It's not strong enough even if it has been made. So the chances are of you showing up in LLMs are very low. So if you're number 13, 14, or 15, it's lower. If you're number 1, 2, or 3, it's way higher. So and you can do this. You can go to Google search and you can go incognito and you can search for a primary keyword, see what brands come up, then do a brand search for LLMs, or maybe you also do a keyword search in an LLM and ask the LLM, okay, which are the top brands for this? And 9 out of 10 times you'll see it's the brands that rank highest. Now, in between, LLMs will throw in stuff that, from brands that are totally random or probably from another country even, but that's to be expected. So this really builds on an earlier study that I read, and this was also published on Search Engine Land. It says 75% of Google AI overview links come from top 12 organic rankings. And this is what I've been telling you here. So, and if you aren't getting clicks, it may be because AI overviews and feature snippets in combination take up to 75% of screen real estate. So this was a separate study, but this is something I remember that this is what they said. The TLDR of the study is, it says our cosine similarity analysis showed a distinct correlation between the semantic similarity of linked websites and AI-generated text of an AI overview itself. Essentially, the closer your content satisfies the same consumer intent and the need as the AI overview summary, the more likely it is to get cited. And there's this study. It then says our findings from the research. AI overviews appeared on 47.4% of queries. AI overviews and feature snippets combined to occupy 75.7% of screen real estate on mobile and 67.1% on desktop. AI overviews were present in 59% of informational queries and 19% of commercial queries. So the TLDR here is that if you're doing SEO for commercial queries, it still makes sense to do good old-fashioned SEO. If you're doing it for more informational queries, like maybe like affiliate site would do, then it makes more sense to also incorporate more elements of AIO and try to answer the question in a way that the LLM algorithm picks you up. Now, it's a little more tricky and we have less data than we do on search engines, but I've been able to test this and I can tell you it's way easier to get picked up by LLMs than it is by Google search. Uh, you need to put in the right information on your website. You need to structure your website for LLMs. But then if you structure your website entirely for LLMs, Google will not pick you up. So there is this sweet spot that you need to strike. So you'll not do it as well with LLMs, and you will not probably be number one with Google, but you kind of be in between for both. That's pretty much what I like to do. I still don't recommend most businesses invest a lot of money in AEO, but if it's something that you're interested in, it's certainly something worth doing if you're an informational site. But for now, if you want to get your brand to show up and let's say LLMs, you might want to do heavy PR. So PR press releases that are heavily brand related to build that connection between your brand and your primary keyword. And you also want to do a lot of social media work because that is what LLMs are mainly pulling their information from. So if you have a question about this or you have a comment about, ranking in LLMs, feel free to leave a comment below. Like to subscribe at all this and happy ranking.